Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sweet Tips here. What I have is some gold filled material that I've removed all the steel springs, all the stones from it, and I've cleaned it in ultrasonic and dried it off. And so now, before we get started here, we're going to get a weight on this material so that we can calculate a yield. These are the small watch band tops. I peeled all of those off of the stainless steel watch bands. These tops are all gold filled, so we're going to include that material here. And then we're going to put this in and get a weight on this gold filled stuff. Bracelets, brooch pins, chains, bangles, watch cover cases. Let's get a weight on this stuff here. Looks like we've got 514.4 grams. I'll write that right on the beaker here. 514.4 grams. Before we put it in the acid, this will burn off all the combustible grease, oil, and whatever else might be on here before we commit it to the acid. I'm going to add some distilled water to the beaker up here. Alright, I've added about 1 liter of distilled water. Now what we'll do is grab our gold filled stuff here and put it in the beaker with the water. Now that we've got it incinerated and in some water, I'm going to add some nitric acid, maybe about 100 milliliters, just to get this thing started off. If you look up here, you'll see that I've got a funnel full of about 500 milliliters of nitric acid. It's got a little pigtail on it here. And what we'll do is direct the hose down into the beaker, put a cover on it, and now we'll start a little bit of acid flow. Just going to drip this in a little bit at a time and allow the acid to get in there without causing it to bubble over. We don't want to add it too fast, just a drip at a time. Be about like that. Here you can see I'm just dripping in the nitric acid slowly, and what we're trying to do here is use nitric acid to dissolve out all of the base metals from underneath the thick coating of karat gold that is on that gold filled material. So we're going to put the base metals in solution and recover the gold foils that are on the base metals. I'm adding a touch of heat here. Put it on low for right now. until we get further along in the process. This is a relatively small batch of gold-filled scrap, and I'm expecting about 2.5 to 3 grams of pure gold per 100 grams of gold-filled scrap. And in the past, it's taken about 3.5 milliliters of nitric acid per gram of gold-filled scrap to get all the base metals dissolved out of there. And what's happening here is we're using nitric acid, hot dilute nitric acid, to dissolve the base metals and leave the gold foils behind, so that we can recover those gold foils and do a refining on the gold foils. Gold filled material is fairly rich. Like I said, 2.5 to 3 grams of pure gold for every 100 grams of gold filled material. I think we've pretty much got this reaction complete. Grab this, pull it down off of the heat. Here you can see I've got a piece in there that's still reacting with acid. It's bubbling off right there. So that means we still got base metals in here that need to come out. I'm going to add just a little bit of distilled water to help cool this off a little bit. Let's reach in and give this a quick stir. Oh yeah, there's our gold foils. That's the foils that were bound to the base metal, and now we've removed the base metal by boiling it nitric. So what we have left is just the shells of gold that have retained the shape of what they used to be. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. I think we pretty much got, that's the old bangle bracelet there. I think we've got pretty much all of the base metals removed out of here now. But we'll just let this cool off, and then we'll get that liquid out of there. I put our solution in an ice bath to cool it off, because if we tried to filter this solution while it's hot, it will cause the filter paper to fail. So here we go. We should have it cooled off enough to where we can pull this through a filter now. Filtering this solution is taking way too long. This is typical for this kind of stuff, for that filter to get plugged up. So what we're going to do is I want to treat this stuff with one more nitric acid boil. So I'm going to pour the rest of this solution off. Here's a look at our material that we've recovered. Try to rinse a little of this off of here. And that is our gold foils that we've recovered with the hot dilute nitric boils. Let me run a magnet under here don't see any movement, so it's fairly safe to conclude that we've got all the magnetic material out of there. We started out with 514 grams of material, and it usually takes 3.5 milliliters of nitric to dissolve everything. I think I've got 1,600 milliliters of nitric already through this, and it looks like we need a couple hundred more. It may already be done, I don't know, but what we're going to do right now, I'm adding a little bit of distilled water, not much. I've got some nitric acid, and what we'll do is we'll add about 100 milliliters, I guess. I'm going to cover this up, and we'll set it back up on the heat. And this is just to make sure that we've got all of the nitric soluble material dissolved out of our foils before we go any further. The material's been boiling for about 15-20 minutes in that dilute nitric now. It's got a little bit of fumes, light fumes going on in there, so I'm fairly certain that we've probably got all the soluble material that we can pulled out of those gold foils. This here, I'm going to keep filtering this until I get it all pulled through this filter. And what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and pull this down and let this cool off. And I think this is going to be a good spot to go ahead and call it. I've been at this all day, and so what I think I'll do is go in and get some rest. We'll come out in the morning, first thing, and continue on with the gold-filled scrap refining. This will conclude part 1 of the gold-filled scrap recovery and refining video. Thank you for watching.